There are traditionally 7 corporal works of mercy and 7 spiritual works of mercy. Corporal is just a fancy word for meaning bodily or material works of mercy. Corpus in Latin means body. So a corporal work of mercy is a work of mercy that is done for someone's material bodily need. And these, to just list them, are to feed the hungry, give water to the thirsty, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, visit the sick, visit the imprisoned, and to bury the dead. Those are the 7 corporal works of mercy. The first 6 of those are all from Matthew chapter 25. So if you go to Matthew 25, I mentioned this in an earlier module, we have the story where Jesus says that at the end of time he will come and he will separate all of humankind into 2 groups, the sheep and the goats. Let's look at that together. We got plenty of time here. I mentioned this story earlier when we were talking about how what happens in Christianity is that the human person becomes, in a sense, an image, like because God becomes one of us in Jesus, then we become an image then of God and of Jesus actually. And here we have a real concrete expression of this. So starting at verse 31 of Matthew 25, it says, "When the Son of Man," Son of Man, by the way, is Jesus' favorite title for himself in the Gospels. And it's because in the book of Daniel, the prophet Daniel has a vision in Daniel chapter 7. He sees one like a Son of Man who comes from the Father in order to reign over all of the earth. And so Jesus is identifying himself with this particular hero who's going to come at the end of the age to bring God's kingdom to earth. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, this sounds very much like Daniel 7, by the way, then he will sit on his glorious throne. I think this is imagining happening in Jerusalem. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate them from one another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep at his right hand, but the goats at the left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, 'Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me.' Then the righteous will answer him, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?' And the king will answer them, 'Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me.' Then he will say to those at his left hand, 'Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me.' Then they also will answer, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not minister to you?' Then he will answer them, 'Truly I say to you, as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not for me.' And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life." So here, Jesus basically says that all of the nations, notice it's not just Israel, all of the nations will be judged at the end of time, and the measure of our judgment will be based on how we have cared for the poor and the weak and the vulnerable in our midst. Have we done corporal works of mercy or not? And that seems to be the litmus test. If you have cared for those people, then you can expect to enjoy blessing for eternity. And if not, so that's kind of what this life is all about, according to Jesus, is caring for others. And because by caring for others, it's a way of caring for Jesus. We all say we love Jesus. This is something that the Apostle John talks about in his first epistle, 1 John. He says, anyone who says that they love God and hates his brother is a liar, because how can they love God whom they cannot see and hate a brother whom they can see, right? So none of us, it's easy to say you love Jesus, but we have to put our expressions, our words into action by loving the people who are actually in front of us. And that's the challenge. It's very difficult to do. And there are probably some in that category that are especially hard for you to do. Feeding the hungry, most of us can be on board with that. Although I do hear people say things like, get a job, that still. We can get on board with feeding the hungry, giving water to the thirsty, clothing the naked. Okay, so we donate clothing to thrift stores, that sort of thing. Sheltering the homeless gets a little more difficult, especially if you're thinking in terms of refugees. We start to get nervous when strangers move in, and we worry that they're going to take our jobs, or they're going to change the nature of our community, these sorts of things. But Jesus tells us to welcome them and to shelter them. Visiting the sick, what about visiting the imprisoned? People, I think a lot of us feel like those people deserve this. And Jesus actually calls us to go and visit them and fellowship with them.